Let me tell you, after 10 days, it is great to finally be putting things back together, and we're almost back to normal. Almost. These are the PCs that were on the ground here in my studio when it flooded. Let's find out if they still work. Today's video is brought to you by NordPass's End of Winter Sale. From now until February 25th, you can take 70% off a 2-year subscription and get an extra month on the house. NordPass makes managing your online passwords a breeze with their user-friendly desktop and mobile applications. It allows you to access all of your passwords on any device from wherever you are. And with NordPass's zero-knowledge architecture, your data is encrypted on your own device before it ever reaches their servers. Visit nordpass.com/craft today to take advantage of this limited time offer. That's nordpass.com/craft. Welcome back to Craft Computing, everyone. As always, I'm Jeff. So, this is a video that needs to be done more so than I want it to be done. One of the PCs in here I know does not turn on, and I'm really not sure what the main cause is, because that PC was powered on the night that the flooding happened. And let me just say, the fact that all 3 of these systems are Fractal Design cases is just kind of happenstance. I have like 9 PCs currently assembled in my home, and 4 of the Fractal Design cases happen to be in this office, and 3 of them were on the ground. So, just kind of the way things turned out. Hashtag not sponsored. This time. So I guess there's nothing left to do but just start diving into this system right here. This particular PC used to be my streaming rig. It's running a Core i7-7820X 8-core CPU on an MSI X299 Creation motherboard. The case is a Fractal Design Meshify S2, and on the bottom of this unit is an EVGA 850-watt gold-rated power supply. And that's pretty much what we're going to be checking out in all 3 of these systems, because all 3 systems have power supplies that were pretty much underwater. Now, I've already kind of cleaned up the case a little bit, but there is a little bit of a faint water line kind of right there. The water was at least 2 inches up on most of these, and on the PC that is not turning on right now, it was pretty much in the deepest section of the room. However, all 3 of these systems have the power supply mounted with the fan down, so I'm a little confused as to why one of them isn't turning on. But again, I haven't tried these other 2. So, with all that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and pull the power supply out of this and just kind of give it a look over first, and then we'll plug it into the machine and see if it will actually turn on. And I do have a second camera rocking today, so you guys can see what I see. I will be kind of talking to myself as I'm doing this, and I will try to show things as I come across them. But like I said, for right now, we're going to just get this power supply out of here and see what the potential damage is. And of course, this one's not a fully modular supply, and it's all nice and neatly cable managed. And I just pulled the Velcro completely out. Awesome! Oh, I remember this. It's never easy, is it? So, turn this thing around here. This happens to be an EATX motherboard, and Fractal, you didn't give me quite enough room to get these cables out of here, so I'm gonna have to at least unscrew a couple of the mounting points over down here. The problem is I've got an AIO on the top of this, so I've got to reach a screwdriver all the way to the top, which probably isn't going to happen, which means the AIO has to drop. It's never easy. I also noticed there's a butt-sized dent in the top of my case, so thank you whichever of my girls decided to sit on this when it was out in the living room. That's a little better. Still kind of... whatever. It's not what we're here for. Now, luckily, the Fractal Design Meshify S2 has this nifty removable top panel, so I think I can access the screw that I need without completely disassembling the entire case. And there we go. Excellent. Thank you, Fractal engineers. I really appreciate you. There we go. Will that give me the wiggle room I need? Yes. Maybe. Oh, come on, you're almost there. Yes, I am flexing a $600 motherboard right now. I fully understand that, thank you. All right, it's out. So I can't tell if there's a line on this or not. My brain kind of wants me to see one, but I don't know that my eyes actually do. So here's the side of the power supply. The dust, if it's me, it doesn't look like this system got wet. That just looks like regular intake fan dust. It doesn't look like it. You can tell when dust has gotten wet and then has dried because it's a little bit clumpier, it's a little bit stickier. This doesn't look like any of that. So I think we might have dodged a bullet on this one. Well, let's go ahead and plug this thing back in. I'm not gonna bother putting it into the case. I think I'm just gonna hardwire it and YOLO it. All right, who's nervous? Okay, we didn't trip a breaker. We're good so far. All right, we got lights. That's one at least. Well, assuming it posts. Well, I mean, the RGB works. What more do you need in the system, right? Okay, I'm boot looping right now, but I think that's a memory issue. So, give me one sec. This wasn't supposed to be the eventful part of this video. All right, BIOS reset. Third time's a charm, right? Well, whatever's the problem with this system, I hesitate to think it could be the power supply. I guess it certainly could be. The RGB is bound to help, right? Boy, MSI had really high hopes for Intel when they made this board. This has 3 8-pin EPS connectors. All right, let's try this again. Power that on. And yeah, same exact boot loop. That is just weird. We get a post? Yay! We got a post. Looks like I may not have had one of the sticks of RAM seated quite right. I just went ahead and pulled them all out, reseated them all. Now it works. All right. Let's plug the other power supply back in. All right, here we go. Moment of truth for power supply number 1. And yes, this was way too much drama for what this one ended up being. Fan sped up, we're no longer boot looping, and we got a post. Excellent. Now, this is one of the systems I am supremely worried about. You might know it as my 32-core EPYC cloud gaming server. This one was also in the water, and there's actually evidence of water all the way up into here. You can see where it was wet, and it was a pretty high line on this one as well. The reason I'm worried about this particular system is I was actually planning on reviving this yet again and doing a couple more videos on it, but this power supply is, well, it's difficult to find. This is an EVGA 1600 watt T2 power supply, and even before the crypto mining boom, these were like $400. I don't know that this would even exist if I wanted to purchase one right now. They're just, you can't get them. So we're going to treat this one with the utmost care and respect, and hopefully it will work. Otherwise, this system might just not be able to do much for quite a while, because, well, this is a system that actually needs 1600 watts. So when I installed this system, I tried to be as mindful as I could be about cable management. But there's a certain point when you're trying to manage cables, but there comes a time when it's really kind of futile to even try anymore. Mainly because this system has 6 8-pin PCI Express power leads coming out of the power supply, 2 more 8-pin EPS, I believe 2 more SATA, and then the standard 24-pin. And so this is the definition of maxing out your connectivity. The thing is, everything's so tight, I have to reach my hand all the way up in here, which means I'm cutting it on the bottom of the case right now, just to get everything unplugged. There we go. Ugh. Okay, yet again, I mounted this power supply fan down, so I'm really hopeful that there was no damage, but as you can see, the connectors on this power supply are so plentiful, they do come all the way to the bottom. And again, I really don't see a water line on here, but I can see how wet the case was at one point. You can see this right here. This is what the dust looks like when it gets wet, is it kind of turns into a mud paste kind of thing. And it wipes right off, but it's very easy to distinguish what got wet from what's just regular dust. However, surprisingly, the power supply doesn't seem any worse for wear. Don't worry, babies. You'll live again. Hey, we got a light on the motherboard. That's usually a good sign. Oh, we got power. That Noctua was so quiet I didn't realize it. And we got a post as my daughter is running up the stairs. Hooray! We're 2 for 2. All right. That makes me feel a lot better. I did not want to have to hunt down one of those power supplies so I could work on this system. So that's really, really good news. All right. System number 3. And finally, we come to the part of the evening where I expect a little bit of drama. So this is my current streaming PC. It's got a Core i9-10850K, an NZXT Z490 motherboard, a Zotac Gaming RTX 2070 Super, a whole bunch of NVMe storage inside of a Meshify 2, and an NZXT, I believe it's a 750 watt gold rated power supply. But there's a problem with this system right now. It doesn't even try to turn on. Let me show you. And nothing. Nothing. The difference with this PC was on the night we lost power. This was also pretty much in the deepest amount of water. I drained a fair amount of water out of the bottom of this case. Now, when I drained it, I thought originally it had all come from the power supply. Later on, I thought it had all come from the filter that was in there, just retaining a lot of the water up inside the chassis, and the power supply was actually above the water line, with the fan pointing down. But I put the system back together and tried to fire it on, and this is what I get. Now, there are a couple of theories that I have to why the system doesn't boot up. Number one is this system, again, was running before we lost power that night. Now, I know we lost power before the flooding started because the loss of power is what caused the flooding after our sump pump battery backups failed. Now, even though we lost power before the flooding started, that doesn't mean the power supply itself was in the clear, because the capacitors inside of it can actually hold a charge for days or even weeks after you pull mains power from it, meaning that even if I sloshed water inside while I was moving it, and there's a really good chance I sloshed things around when I was moving it because, well, I was standing in ankle-deep water at 5 in the morning. Yeah, there's a good chance I fried this power supply just by trying to get it out of the water. And I just realized on camera, likely I had the switch flipped the wrong way, but let me just do that again. So the switch is set to on right now. I'm gonna plug that in. I can hear power making contact. You can kind of hear that little crackle when you plug it in. And then nothing. No lights on the motherboard, no fans spin, no relay clicks, nothing. There's another major reason I didn't want to take this thing apart. It's because the EPS plug is all the way at the top, blocked by this massive thick boy of a radiator in the Arctic 480. Yeah, that's a 480 millimeter all-in-one liquid cooler. that's plugging up the entire top of this case. And believe me when I say, it fits in this case, but there is no room to spare. Go ahead and unscrew my antennas here so I don't break them, because I can't even count the number of antennas that I broke while moving things out of my office this last week. And people have asked me a couple of times how I actually got this cooler into this case, and the answer is very carefully. Like the other Fractal cases that I took apart today, the Meshify 2 has this top panel that's supposed to be removable. The problem is that the radiator is so large it actually pokes into the extra space on the side of the case, and you actually can't remove it. So once this top panel is loose, you can unscrew the radiator from the top of the panel and then drop it out of the top of the case. But that's really the only way you can get this thing in here, is trying to do it the old school way. Okay, so once all the screws are out, now you can remove the top panel, and you can kind of slide this thing out from the front of the case right there, and then break it free. Now, one thing I love about the Arctic 480 is all of the cables are integral to the AIO itself. This is the definition of what I think AIO coolers should be. So the fans themselves, there's no power leads to run. There's nothing to plug in. All of it runs into the pump and then out from a single header on the pump to your motherboard. You don't even need separate power for the pump and for the fans. It's all integrated. And that's not even to talk of the cooling performance, which this thing is a beast. Can you just sit somewhere nicely, please? No, of course not. I have like string that I can tie it back with. This thing's a beast of a cooler, but it listens about as well as a cat. All right, so we've got our 8-pin EPS, our 24-pin, and our GPU plugged in. We've got our radiator sitting very nice and secure on my desk. And we've got our power supply. So let's turn that to on. Okay, nothing so far. Hey! All right. I was really worried that when the power supply went out, it might have taken something else with it. But from the looks of it, this thing's booting up. And it's alive! I can't tell you how relieved I am that this was just the power supply. Now, it's an expensive power supply still. It's still a 750 watt gold, fully modular, 120 millimeter unit from NZXT. By the way, this is a great power supply, and it's of no fault of this thing that the system died. I think it was either a surge or, like I said, me sloshing around in the water that probably did it in. But there was also one other death in the family, and I'm even more upset about this one, and that was my Dark Power Pro 11 1200 watt power supply from Be Quiet. This was my test bench power supply. It didn't get a lot of use, but it really helped out having that much power available if I wanted to test some really obscure things for upcoming videos. Before I started putting the cloud gaming PC together, this is where I tested the Tesla cards and the FirePro S7150X2s. I've got a couple of GTX 690s coming up for a video. Those were on this bench for a while. It's just kind of sad to see this one go. Anyway, I know this video wasn't necessarily a project or anything else, but I hope you still got something out of it, even though it was just me plugging things in and out and seeing if things work or not. I'm really happy to be back. I'm happy that the damage to my house was not more extensive, and I've got a number of really cool projects planned soon, so make sure you're subscribed to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. Like this video down below if you did indeed like it, or dislike it if, well, you knew it was the power supply from the beginning. Follow me on Twitter at Craft Computing to keep up with my daily shenanigans, and if you'd like the content you see on this channel and want to help support me in what I do, consider joining the Floatplane or Patreon. Links are both down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to my Discord server, where you can chat with myself and the other hosts from Talking Heads, my once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching this one, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys. Is it March yet? I really feel like a cocktail. Today's beer is precisely what I was thinking when I walked down the stairs and stepped into ankle-deep water, and that was Oh Fudge from Prairie Artisan Ales, and 11% Imperial Stout with brownies. So pastry stout all the way. But there's like a cherry kind of a note to it, like a super dark chocolate covered cherry. I hope this doesn't end up being a sour. It's still got plenty of carbonation. Yeah, there's almost a fruitiness to the nose of this. And on Imperial Stouts, that usually makes me a little bit worried that this beer may be infected. There's definitely lots of floaties in this one. I'm being a little cautious with this one. I don't know if this one's infected or not. The chocolatiness and the roastiness are definitely there. But like I said, there's this strange, almost fruit-like kind of smell and flavor that's kind of right up front. I don't know that I'm digging this one. So there does appear to be some yeast that is left behind in this bottle, although I don't think it was advertised as being bottle conditioned. There's definitely some floaties, whether or not they're leftover brownie or yeast or what. I really, really, really wanted to like this beer. At the end of the day, I just don't. And I think it's just that little overly sweet bit that doesn't really match the flavor profile of the rest of this beer or go with an Imperial Stout. I mean, not that cherries and chocolate are all that dissimilar as far as flavor profiles go, but this one, I think overall it just missed. I was caught off guard by the aroma of this one, and I can tell you, it's definitely not infected. It's definitely not spoiled. This is not a soured stout or, you know, whatever they usually try to claim to sell infected beer. This is just one that I think just missed the mark. So, glad I had it, but oh fudge. Try again.